the right time for Right Time Radio. I'm Tom Bruno.
And I'm Lynn Donovan.
Fremont County. It's intimately familiar with our beloved Blossom Festival. But today's story looks at another festival. The Possum Festival with a P, written by C.M. Stevenson.
Yeah, we have read works of C.M. Stevenson before, haven't we,
Yes,
Tom?
we sure did.
Yeah. Well, I think it was when we did our poetry episode on Right Time Radio, and I think she had like 6 entries.
She did. They were all really good.
Very prolific writer. Anyway, today's reading of Possum Festival is a whimsical look at how possums would celebrate the coming of spring, and I think you'll find it as joyous as our own festival.
Yeah, and she's got some really cute little plays on words and turns of phrases and puns that.
Really
so
cute.
listen carefully, because those will fly right by you if you're not listening well.
That's true. But I wanted to tell you that the author did share with me how the story came about. And it seems that the author's granddaughter's half-sister and her family live in Texas. Yay, Texas. And they had, And they had planned, yeah, well, you know.
You just lost half your listeners.
Yeah, Coloradoans. Do we like Texas? Oh, no, it's the Californians.
There's a lot of people here from Texas.
There are. In fact, I'm partially from Texas.
Do you know what's worse?
Which part?
Do you know
San
what's
Antonio.
No, which part of you is from Texas?
It would have been the suntanned part in the in high school
Carrie
and
J.
college part.
Quick response.
Well, I heard a joke from a dentist the other day that said, do you know what's worse than a Texan with a loaded gun?
And you said,
No, a Californian with a loaded U-Haul.
Okay, now you just got him back.
That was not me.
Yes.
That was him,
But you
yes.
lost the other half of the audience.
Sorry, it was a dentist who told that to me. Anyway, they had planned on coming to the Blossom Festival, and she told me that when Lenny told her husband that they were coming to the Blossom Festival, and by the way, he's hard of hearing, he thought she said Possum Festival and wondered what that was. So, in honor of Joe wanting to come to the Possum Festival, this little story arrived.
Awesome. Well, awesome possum, as Lego says. So after our little Possum Festival, we have another short story selection, 2 of them, by our very own co-host of Right Time Radio, Lynn Donovan.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that exciting event. And then we also have a few words of, one of the things we wanted to do on Right Time Radio was give some writing tips. And we have some writing tips on working with other authors
We do.
At the end of this show. So our selection, we have 3 selections. They're all relatively short, and we hope you enjoy these little snippets. And we'd also like to thank all of you for listening to us on Right Time Radio every Friday morning at 10 o'clock, live, yes. If I say the wrong thing, Carrie can bleep me out, but she's going to have to be really quick. All right.
So far, we've never had to hit the button.
We bring, it's an...
Got the hook ready, though.
She'd be she'd be real eager to kick me out of here. Second floor window. All right. Well, every week is an hour of old time radio with new time stories. We got drama, short stories, poems, excerpts from local authors' books. It is definitely a local show, local authors, locally produced with local stories. And sometimes they're based on truth, and sometimes they are based on our twisted imaginations.
Well, your twisted imagination.
No. Well,
My
wait.
imagination's
We're reading
not
your
twisted.
stories, Jules. You'll see. It's always entertaining. So...
Well, usually we tell you about the author. We read a bio. We have them here. We visit with them. But this author, C.M. Stevenson, has asked to remain anonymous. So we will respect those wishes.
And listeners, if you're out there and you're anonymous but you don't want to be anonymous, if you're a secret writer hiding in the closet typing the great American novel, but you were waiting to be discovered, well, your time of waiting is over. Just give us a call or an email, and we would love to talk to you about whether it's appropriate to have you on Right Time Radio, whether it's an excerpt or a whole short story or whatever you have. And so
Where can they do that?
Oh, hey, thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
now.
I do. It's
I've given you a perfect segue.
righttimeradio@gmail.com. That's WRITE, righttimeradio@gmail.com. These shows are really great fun to produce, even with Carrie here looking over our shoulder.
Especially with Carrie.
And it is a great way for you aspiring authors to gain notoriety, and the immense fame and infamy of having your work performed live at KRLN 1400, your awesome local radio station.
And now for Possum Festival by C.M. Stevenson. And by the way, it is narrated by our very own Tom Bruno.
The forest village was buzzing with excitement. It was spring and time for the Possum Festival that is held each year just as the blossoms begin to appear. No time to visit, Fricka Possum called to Granny Gunilla as she raced past the garden where the older possum was busy collecting snails and slugs for the feast at the old oak. No worries, dearie, she called back cheerily. I'm quite busy here myself. Granny Ganilla's spacious home beneath an overturned garden cart was just beyond where Fricka lived in the abandoned fox den at the edge of the hedgerow, tucked safely within the brambles. They were great neighbors, visiting about goings-on in the neighborhood and enjoying late-night snacks pilfered from the garbage cans. Long fingers of purple shadows were descending as dusk enveloped the forest village. There was much work to be done for the festival, so everyone had to rise earlier than their usual hour of darkness. Fricka was running as fast as she could to reach the hollow where Minky lived. There was still work to be done on the Queen's float, so it would be ready for the festival parade at midnight. Minky, Fricka called loudly, are you ready? Minky slowly opened the door of her tree trunk abode. I think I was taking a nap, she said sleepily. You know it's early for us. I know, Fricka responded, but it's only once a year that we have to get up before the hour of darkness. With all the fun and good things to eat, it's worth it, don't you think? Minky nodded. Can we stop by Tukvist's rock pile on the way? He always has a nice supply of grasshoppers, and I could use a bite or two. Okay, Fricka said impatiently. Just as long as you don't want to stay. Fricka patted her friend on the back. I know you're sweet on him, but we have a lot of work to do today. Minky grinned shyly. I promise, she said after a moment. They hurried to the edge of the stream where Tukvist lived in the rock pile a farmer had cleared from his field. The two friends called and called until Tukvist pushed aside the rock that served as the door to his stony home. What are you on about? He demanded sleepily. Can't you see a fella is sleeping?
Sorry,
the friends said in almost unison. We were hoping for a bit of breakfast before we start work on the festival, Minky said shyly. I know you always have a supply of grasshoppers, and we were... Right, Tukvist interrupted. I'll get them if you let me go back to sleep. But aren't you going to help with the festival? Fricka asked. I will, but later. Tukvist disappeared into the depths of the rock pile and returned shortly with a generous supply of grasshoppers. There, now be off with you, he said with a wink and a warm smile.
this is Right Time Radio, and we are going to take a few minutes here to let you listen to some of our sponsors. And first of all, we want to thank Fremont Regional Hospice for being one of those. Thank you so much.
For an Ent Credit Union mortgage, and you can lock in your rate right away. Then shop for your home without worrying about rates. With Ent's Lock and Shop, if rates go up, yours stays put. If rates go down, yours goes down too. So when you find the home for you, your best rate will still be there. And it's all backed by Ent's on-time closing guarantee. So you can be confident with your home loan. Now that's an Ent thing. Get started at ent.com/lock-and-shop. Qualifications apply. Ent Credit Union. Equal housing lender. Equal opportunity lender.
The character who portrayed Jesus in The Shack said religion is way too much work. I don't want slaves, I want friends. That idea is echoed in John 15:15. At Freedom and Faith, our ministry is built on those same principles. Our Heavenly Father and His Son want a personal relationship with you. We invite you to join us on our journey to truth in Scripture and personal relationship every Sunday at 10:15 at the Canyon City Rec District, 575 South Ash, 269-1575.
KRLN weather, partly cloudy and hot today. 20% chance of some scattered thunder showers. High today around 90. Mostly cloudy this evening, then clearing overnight, the low near 55. Mostly sunny and hot tomorrow, high around 92. 53 was our low this morning after a high of 87 yesterday, and we measured 0.05 of an inch of rainfall. Now from the Weather Center, 76 degrees.
Talk Radio 1400, KRLN.
Radio and the rest of Possum Festival by C.M. Stevenson, narrated by Tom Bruno.
He is cute, don't you think? Minky asked when he had pushed the stone back in place. Yes, cute, Fricka said and gave her a playful shove. Fricka enjoyed some of the grasshoppers Tukvist had given them. She had been hungry when she woke, but she hadn't wanted to take time to search her garden for food. After all, it was the Possum Festival, and there wasn't much time to finish preparations. Possums from all over the country had begun arriving for the festival. A large group of white-eared possums was just setting up their fare by the big oak. Fricka remembered the year they brought a jar of gray moth jelly. That was most delicious, especially when drizzled over toasted earwigs. The bug juice tent was going up next to the honeysuckle. Worm smoothies were Fricka's favorite, but she was never known to pass up a delicate hornet julep prepared on site by the bug tender.
Sounds so good.
Guffin, the lamplighter, was busy lighting the beeswax street lamps. The little village was springing to life in the golden light as each lamp illuminated the deepening darkness. The friends waved to him as they hurried past. "Look," Minky said, "it's Mama Gabby with the babies on her back." "How cute," Fricka said. "How many this time?" 9, Minky said. "I think they were more, but, well, you know." "Look at that one peeking out of her pouch," Fricka said suddenly. "Must be the runt, not ready to climb on her back yet." The two friends hurried down the path past Mama Gabby. "Looks like she's taking them to the Play Dead Theater," Fricka said. "I wonder if Gustav is teaching the class this year." "I heard that he was. He's so funny," Minky said. "I remember when I went to the theater. He raced around the clearing like a mighty beast was chasing him. And then Dashi, the dachshund, leaped at him from behind the wheelbarrow and scared the bugaboos out of him. He fell to the ground and lay deathly still for as long as an hour. Mostly everyone got bored during the time, and they went off to do something else. But we learned the lesson from Gustav." "That we did," Fricka said, remembering her own lessons at the Play Dead Theater. The hour of darkness was quickly approaching as the two friends made their way to the black currant bushes. The parade float was being constructed under the canopy of the long willowy branches of the currants, and as the friends approached, they could see a partially decorated bamboo cart. "Wow," Fricka exclaimed. "I wonder where they found that." "Probably at the dump," Minky offered. "There are always toys and gadgets at the dump. This looks just perfect," she added. "We can add more flowers and fern fronds," Fricka said, "and it will be just right for Queen Moonshine and her court." "Her court is Fizzy and Musopo this year, isn't it?" Minky asked, slight disappointment in her voice. Minky had wanted to be a part of the Queen's court, but they said she wasn't old enough. Fricka acknowledged. "Maybe next year," she said to Minky, who had brightened when Einder appeared from the back of the canopy. Here to help, I see, Einder said in a light tone. There are lots of blossoms on the cherry bushes, and we can use the red berries from last year's high bush cranberry crop. Within an hour, the Queen's cart was complete. The edging of cherry blossoms, intertwined with the red cranberries, made an elegant display over the cart. Large fern fronds rose above the cart, like green flags of the forest village. Good job, Einder declared as the three stood back to evaluate their work. Moonshine will surely like this. How about some refreshment? Fricka asked, as the grumbling in her stomach reminded her that she usually ate a lot more than the grasshoppers Tukvist had given them. Good idea, Minky said. Want to join us, Einder? Not right now. I need to check on Mama Gabby. She left this morning with all but one of the little ones tucked safely under her back. She's probably tired by now. I think she was taking them to the Playdead Theater, Minky offered. If they waited for Gustav to wake up, they might still be there. Thanks, Einder said, and started in the direction of the theater. The old oak was the only tree left standing in a small section of forest that had fallen to the axe of a woodcutter. The Possum Council resolved not to let the woodcutter's actions deter them from the festivities, so they transformed the stumps left by the felled trees into dining tables for the food court. In the early days, the Lord of the Fireflies made a never-ending agreement with the possum community. The Fireflies agreed to spend the festival night each year in glass containers placed on the stumps to provide light for the partygoers. In exchange, the possum community agreed to refrain from ever eating even a single firefly. At the end of the festival, the fireflies were always released back into the forest. The pack has stood well and good these many years, Fricka said, as she and Minky entered the brightly lit food court. Guffin said I could help release them this year, Minky said proudly. Good on you, girl, Fricka responded and patted her on the back. It feels like I'm nearly starved, she said and laughed. Let's tuck in before it's all gone. I'm about starved too, Minky admitted. Tukvist grasshopper is really good, but now I want some of that frog-eyed salad and a few of those caterpillars. The two friends ate their fill of snails on the half shell, slug and worm smoothies, fried grasshopper legs, funnel spider cakes, topped with chocolate-covered ant sprinkles, and of course, the frog-eye salad, all topped off with Beetlejuice cocktails. They were just about to leave the food court when McNuggers, the town crier, announced the procession of the Queen. 20 minutes, he called loudly. 20 minutes until the midnight hour. Fricka and Minky hurried toward the currant bushes. If there were any last-minute things that needed to be done, they wanted to help. The squirrels who had volunteered to pull the cart were already in harness, and Queen Moonshine was settled into the bamboo cart. She was radiant with the white fur of her face, washed and brushed to a high sheen. She wore a crown of pink violets and held a wisteria staff in one hand and the flag of the possums in the other. Greetings, Queen Moonshine, the two friends said simultaneously. And to you, she answered. Have you seen my court? They aren't here yet, Fricka said, but they should be along shortly. We saw them at the food court. I know you wanted to be a part of the royalty this year, Moonshine said to Minky. I can't officially make you part of my entourage, but if you like, you can lead the squirrels. Thank you, Minky said with delight and jumped up and down. And then, it will be my pleasure, ma'am, she said with a respectful little bow. Here they are, Fricka said as Fizzy and Musopo approached. Need help with anything? She asked the pair. Fizzy needed her hair combed, and Musopo had the remains of black beetles on her chin. But once those things were attended to, they took their places behind the Queen in the bamboo cart. The midnight hour was announced by McNuggers. The Queen's procession started down the path that led through the forest and to the stream beyond. The squirrels were distinguished with their tails curved gracefully over their backs. Minky was joyful and proud in her duties of leading them past the throngs of reverent villagers. Not a word was spoken by anyone as the reverence of the occasion enveloped all present. The festival marked another peaceful year of plenty in the forest village. The success was not to be taken lightly, as there had been years past when outsiders pursued them and years when there wasn't enough to eat. The procession ended at the stream. Queen Moonshine jumped from the cart with her court following close behind. They stood solemn before the assembled crowd. Queen Moonshine raised the flag, and she and her court began to recite the Ode to the Possum. Give high praise to the garbage bins. In those barrels lay fishy fins. Thank the farmer for rocks tossed aside. Possums know that's a safe place to hide. Thank the forest for homes and trees. Enjoy the sweet barf of honeybees. Celebrate the bugs and the berries of the field. To those who would harm us, never yield. The assembled crowd raised a mighty roar as celebration rang through the forest village. Queen Moonshine laid her staff and flag aside and removed her crown of pink violets. "Ready?" she asked of all gathered there. "Ready!" they responded with fervor. Moonshine leaped into the stream, followed by any who dared enjoy the chilly water. Fricka and Minnie joined hands and took the plunge together. They splashed a bit and then began to dig in the mud at the stream's edge. They found a few snails that they enjoyed on the spot. "That whetted my appetite," Fricka said, digging a bit more. "I think there was a lot of food left," Minky said. "Do you want to find Toothvist and go back to the food court?" "Splendid idea," Fricka said. The two friends scrambled from the stream and searched the throng of partygoers until they found Toothvist. "We're going to the food court. Want to come with us?" Minky asked shyly. "I couldn't think of two nicer possums I would rather spend the rest of this festival with." He put an arm around each friend. "And when we've finished eating, we can go to the carnival and play whack-a-mouse. If we're lucky, we will each have a mouse stew for tomorrow." The three friends laughed. "I hope next year will be just as much fun," Toothvist said. "I think it will be," Fricka and Minky responded in unison. Now let's eat.
That is a prime example of an author's mind, because the man misunderstood what was said and out came a story. Exactly, right? That's
Prime
how our
example
minds
of
work.
Men misunderstanding too.
Well, that too. We have to, you have to laugh rather than cry.
And
right?
a lot of times we misunderstand on purpose. I hope you guys realize that.
I never realized that.
No, I bet you didn't. No.
That's it. I'll have to talk to my
I
husband
probably
about
shouldn't have
that.
given away our secret.
I'm going to tell Paul you said that.
All right, let's hit a commercial. What do you
Let's
say?
hit a commercial. Carrie, take it away to a commercial.
All right, you're listening to Right Time Radio, heard every Friday from 10 to 11 on 1400 KRLN.
This week on The Lutheran Hour.
People do what they do because they think rules aren't made for them. Rules are for the other guy. But there are times when following the rules can be a matter of life or death.
Hear a classic message from Pastor Ken Klaus this week on The Lutheran Hour.
The Lutheran Hour is brought to you each week by St. John's Lutheran Church. Listen Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. on 1400 KRLN.
It's time for a huge Labor Day sales event at City Auto Plaza. Get into the car or truck of your dreams now. Save big on all new Dodge Challenger, or take part in the Bigger Things sale with Motor Trend Truck of the Year, the Ram 1500. Plus, take advantage of the Jeep Celebration, the 2019 Jeep Wrangler JL. Also, Motor Trend SUV of the Year. Now's the time. City Auto Plaza, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram. Whether you're buying or leasing, they're making deals like never before.
Fremont County residents can find up-to-date information about Fremont County government by going to the official county website, fremontco.com. Check out the county department web pages and review Fremont County zoning and subdivision regulations. Find zoning and road department application forms. Addresses to contact county officials. Study real estate records on the county assessor's webpage and read the latest county news on the News Now page. Get up to date on Fremont County government today on the web at fremontco.com.
What are you going to do while you're here in Fremont County? There's so much to choose from. How about a brewery tour? Attend a play at our historic theaters and venues, bird watching along the Riverwalk, swimming in our community pools, try a classy restaurant or picnic in one of our mini parks, or take a dip in our hot springs. Go skydiving or for a helicopter ride. There's so much to do, you want to stay a while. This message brought to you by Stoner's Rock Block, supplying Fremont County quality landscaping materials since 2005.
Welcome back to Right Time Radio. Lynn here is our special guest and our special co-host. She's always here as a co-host, but today she's here as in her author role also. She's written 2 quick short stories that you're going to get to enjoy. The first one is based on something that really happened, isn't it?
It is.
Did it really? I mean, this is scary.
This actually really happened, and it has always bothered me. And so when I took a creative writing class to help boost my creativity and my brain and get things going, I wrote this. And yeah, it's a true story.
And so this is why you wake up screaming?
No, I didn't wake up screaming, but I was very concerned.
All right.
One of those things that leaves you concerned.
Somebody might be listening that might help you solve the mystery too.
Ooh,
yeah.
There you go.
Isn't that
maybe the person
kind of
that
scary too?
Yeah, that would be really scary if they knew.
It is.
Because they would be the mysterious person. Okay, well, in the last one, crickets were eaten. In this one, crickets are warning.
A warning.
It's called The Cricket's Warning by Lynn Donovan.
If I hadn't been standing in the entryway in my baby doll pajamas, pounding on the ceiling with my shoe to get a cricket to stop chirping, I wouldn't have noticed the front door standing wide open. It was 11 o'clock at night, and my parents were not home. They had gone out with their friends for drinks and camaraderie or whatever they did when they got out to be with their boisterous buddies at the place called Polly's Pub. I was 16. Well past the age of needing a babysitter. Yet, here I stood, shoe in hand, arms raised above my head, trying to silence a cricket, unaware the front door was standing open. The street was silent, but my dog suddenly, fearfully barked, and I jumped. Oh, God, where was he? I looked at the gaping door. Should I step outside to look for him? I couldn't move. His muffled bark came from the direction of the kitchen, the pantry, perhaps. Oh, God, someone is in the house, and they've put him in the pantry. And here I was in a skimpy pajamas, all alone. I ran to my parents' bedroom, and I fumbled through the phone book. Tears soaked the yellow page ads, and I searched for the pub's phone number. At last I found it, and I pushed the numbers. Polly answered. I forced myself to speak clearly. May I speak to Everett Bryan? This is his daughter. When Daddy came to the phone, I lost it. Daddy, there's somebody in the house, my octave peaked, and I don't know where Gaylord is, and I heard him bark, but I can't find him. I'm in your bedroom, and I'm really scared. Can y'all come home, please? He chuckled, but agreed. Rocking back and forth, I sat on their bed, and I stared out the window at their highlights. Headlights, that would be. An eternity passed in the darkness of the window. Finally, their car pulled into the driveway, and I ran down the hall. Come on, Gaylord, Dad said. The beagle ran into the house ahead of them, tail wagging, happy to be let in. Where was he? I cried. In the garage, Daddy laughed. I thought he was in the pantry, I said, fighting the temptation to hug my dad. How'd he get in the garage? I don't know. I guess I heard him at the door, Dad said with a dismissive shrug. The door leading to the garage was next to the pantry door. I suppose it did make sense. Still, how did the front door get open? They didn't seem any too concerned, so we settled into bed. I slid under my pink and white gingham comforter and listened for every unfamiliar creak in the house. I couldn't sleep. Even the crickets were silent now. Were they scared too? Did they know something was wrong? Why were my parents so calm? The front door had come open somehow. Gaylord was in the garage. Something wasn't right. And then I heard it. The crickets' rhythmic chirping began again. They were mocking me in my fearful, sleepless state. I turned on my side and covered my ears and cried. I was alone in my fear. I was alone in my consciousness that something was wrong. But what? I never knew. Not then, not now. But every time I hear crickets chirping, I think about that terrifying night, and I wonder, who opened that front door?
Who was it? So if you're out there and it was you, fess up, give the radio station a call, and we'll talk to you. It's funny that experiences when in our teen years, they can haunt us. Maybe it's all those hormones or something. But
and that's too bad because I actually like cricket songs. So yeah,
I do too. In fact, last night I was telling Lynn before the show, I was listening to the crickets last night as I fell asleep. I love it.
Yeah.
Do they still freak you out?
They don't freak me out. It's just that it's a noise that keeps you awake, and so it's like, stop. Quit. So I go beat on the walls, and then they quit. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the second story you have here. Quite a different tone and some comical stuff in here about the subliminals. Anyway, let's get into it. It's called "The Wedding Gift" by Lynn Donovan.
I've always wondered if Mother would have clung to the painting from her brother-in-law if she had realized the subliminal message he painted into the wedding gift. The thought crosses my mind every time I look at it, now hanging in my utility room. Did she see what I saw all those years ago? Did Dad even notice? Did my imagination create the insult, the warning? Only because I know all the players. The painting became such a bone of contention between my mother and my father when they split. Mother, of course, won and kept the painting. My stepdad never articulated his concern or preference for the item from her past hanging in his living room, at least not within my hearing. Did no one see what I saw? An angry orange and red sky cast shadows across the barren desert sands. A huge green plant with a gaping red maw fills the foreground like the palm of a clawing hand. An innocent lizard sits in front of the patiently waiting phalanges. 2 bones lie as warning of the lizard's impending demise. In an oil-on-canvas board, 20 by 24 inches, the canvas board was mounted when he painted the handmade frame, brown paint strokes still evident by careless overstrokes on the canvas. The frame and the painting were both sloppy work, actually, but then again, probably completed the night before. Uncle Wendy, short for Winfield, never planned too far in advance. The symbolism is so obvious. I'm surprised no one reads the message slapped in the oily medium. Or does it matter? Mom and Dad met and married in Florida. His family drove 3 days to meet her for the first time at the wedding. They wouldn't get to know her until 3 years later when Dad moved her to Texas. Yet somehow my uncle sensed and expressed his warning to his younger brother. This woman is dangerous. She can eat you alive if you let her. You're not compatible. And the funny thing is, he was right. They were married 5 years. Their breakup was so strained, Dad rejoined the military to escape the drama. He spoke of the painting often and longed to have it back. Nevertheless, he made no effort to retrieve it. He knew it would be impossible. He knew the depth of her stubborn brick wall mind, and I knew someday, somehow, I would find a way to return it to him. And then it happened, more easily than I ever expected. I'd been married 6 years and had a son of my own. Christmas was a few months away when Mom called. With amazing innocence, she explained she had redecorated her living room and wondered if Don would want Wendy's painting. I met her innocence and raised her one calm voice when I replied, "Yeah, I imagine he'd like to have it." Okay, we agreed we'd make sure the painting was returned to him. Christmas made the perfect time to present this special gift. I wrapped it in newspaper cartoons and labeled it "For Dad, from Lynn." He told me later he thought it was a portrait of my husband and me. Little did he know. We kept it in our car and brought it in after everyone had opened all their gifts from us and we had opened our gifts from them. I wanted it to be a big deal because it was. Dad knelt on the floor in his skin-tight Wranglers and stovepipe leather cowboy boots. His large round belly hung over his oversized hips. His eyes widened and his eyebrows rose with curiosity when he balanced the large cartoon-covered rectangle in front of him. He grinned and snickered in his deep voice way, and he exclaimed, "Mercy," as he always did. And he turned around, determining where to begin unwrapping the mystery. My stepmother, sister, brother, and his new girlfriend sat in chairs and on the floor watching with mild interest. A look of, "What has she done now?" on their faces. Tamara, the girlfriend, eyed the TV, oblivious to what was about to happen. Finally, Daddy poked his finger through the paper and peeked into the hole. Recognizing it immediately, he shot to his feet, lunged for me, and wrapped me in a smothering embrace. His voice was 2 octaves higher than anyone had heard before, and he cried and choked, "Thank you." We both cried. Through whispers, we managed to talk during our embrace. I said, "You're welcome." And he said, "How did you get this?" I explained Mom voluntarily gave it to me for him, and the rest of the family sat slack-jawed in their places. The present, still wrapped in cartoon print, laid concealed on the floor. None of them knew what was contained in the paper or why Dad had reacted so emotionally to what he had seen. My stepmother, Betty, amusingly said, "Well, what is it?" Dad wiped his tears and returned to the gift. He couldn't speak, so he just pulled the paper off and turned it around so the family could see. An expression of, "Yeah, and?" lingered on their faces. Dad explained, "This is the painting Wendy made for Jackie and me when we got married." Dad choked up but continued, "Even when Wendy died, she wouldn't let me have it. I thought I'd never see it again." Tears flowed again, and we resumed our embrace. Tamara stewed in confusion. My siblings wiped away empathetic tears, and Betty commented how nice it was to have it back. Was there sarcasm in her words? True enough, it didn't go with her decor, but she never had much of a voice in how their house was decorated. Just as predicted, down came her picture of a defeated Indian warrior on his white steed, and up went the man-eating plant. Interesting how neither of my step-parents ever objected to the painting. When Dad died, Betty wasted little time transferring the painting back to me. Its bright colors complement the chocolate brown walls of my laundry room, and it makes me smile every time I see it, reminding me of my father's joy when I returned it to him and my mother's silly obsession with keeping it. I'll always wonder what the secret behind the design, if they truly exist in the painting or simply in my mind. Now it hangs in a neutral territory of my home, something I think Uncle Wendy would have liked very much.
There you go. Getting a painting, the man-eating plant, as a wedding gift. As a writer, I think we'd call that foreshadowing, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah.
Well, we will be right back. We'd like to thank, of course, Fremont Regional Hospice for their great support of Right Time Radio. Thank you. We'll talk to you with some writing tips right after this message.
All right, and be sure, and I don't know if they have any tickets left, but you can get a hold of them. They don't. Anyway, enjoy yourselves tonight at the Abbey Event Center, and have a good time. And also, if you want to go to an event tonight, Jam in the Park is tonight. Cool. A tribute to Denny Stately. Nice. And lots of people are coming out for that. And then you have something going on too, don't you?
Gillick and Clark. Mark Gillick and John Clark are going to be singing at Papa's tonight.
Okay, that's
and
a lot of fun.
So they've they've got such a great, they click just perfectly.
Oh, fun.
Really mellow, but really enjoyable.
Okay.
And we'll have plenty of room tonight.
All right, and then bids and barbecues tomorrow night, 5 to 7:30 at Harrison K through 8 School. You can see if they have any tickets left at 345-4038, and I am going to that too. So, yeah,
A little busy.
busy weekend.
Carrie's at everything.
And, well, I try to at least share myself with others. So.
And Lynn and my wife are going to the Fremont Regional Hospice thing tonight, the wine pairing.
Wine pairing.
Yeah, so
All right.
they're going to have fun.
Yeah. All right. So say hi to your folks on the radio, okay?
I will.
All right. And we'll be right back after these words. Keep it right here on Right Time Radio. This is 1400 KRLN.
Hello, I'm Jenny Gatsky, realtor with the Gatsky Homes team at HomeSmart Preferred Realty. If you or someone you know is thinking about buying a home, selling a home, or investing in real estate, please contact us for a free buyer's consultation or home valuation. You can reach us at 719-458-9559 through our website at GatskyHomes.com, on Facebook, or stop by the office at 501 Royal Gorge Boulevard on the northeast corner of Highway 50 and 5th Street in downtown Canyon City. Thank you. This is Jenny Gatsky, your neighbor, your realtor.
Childhood is full of wonder, and we get the chance to relive it with our grandchildren every day. But imagine missing special moments with a grandchild or seeing them through cloudy vision. The Foundation Fighting Blindness can help by providing valuable information about diagnosing and treating AMD. Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of vision loss in people 55 and older, but it doesn't have to be. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is driving research and saving sight by providing information about diagnosing and treating AMD. Don't miss a moment of your grandchildren's youthful wonder because of poor vision. Learn more about vision-saving preventions and treatments. Call the Foundation Fighting Blindness today at 1-800-BLINDNESS for a free packet on reversing or managing AMD. Or go to the website fightblindness.org where you can find so much helpful information. Call 1-800-BLINDNESS today. That number again is 1-800-BLINDNESS or fightblindness.org.
KRLN weather, partly cloudy and hot today. 20% chance of thunder showers with a high around 90. Mostly cloudy this evening, then clearing overnight with a low near 55. Sunny and hot tomorrow, high around 92. 87 our high yesterday with a low of 53 this morning. We measured 0.05 of an inch of rainfall. From the weather station, 79 degrees.
Talk Radio 1400 KRLN.
Welcome back to Right Time Radio. And Tom, let's talk about writing. Do you like to write?
We love to write, don't we?
We do love to write.
It's amazing. And you know when I write, right?
Yes, in the middle of the night.
I do. Because, I'm running Papa's during the day, and then I get home and I get on that computer.
Yep.
And if I'm not chasing Elsa around, I'm writing.
We don't want to hear about that. But anyway. And I write during the day because that's my job.
Conscious
that's what
night.
I do.
Your conscious time.
I write
in my
best.
sleep.
Do you write in your sleep? I actually do that too, but yeah. No, my best writing time is in the morning. I do really good in the morning, and so I'll write till maybe 2 or 3 or something, and then I let myself take a break.
And I'm not saying I only write at night. It's whenever I can. I love it. There's always something. And right now, let's talk about what we've been working on a little bit.
Tom
and
and
then
I
we're
have
going to
been
wrap in
writing
some tips
together.
And we have. So we have, on October 1st of this year, we are releasing the first book in a multiple author series called Beyond the Veil. And this book has 5 authors.
Yes.
Lynn and I are just 2 of the 5. Mm-hmm. And then the other one is Parker J. Cole. You want to say a little bit about Parker? Because she's a fascinating character.
She is. Parker J. Cole and I basically met online through
And she lives in Detroit, just so people... I always have to position
say that,
people.
Actually. He always puts words in my mouth. No, Parker J. Cole and I met online, and we have been writing in other series together. really has become a very good friend of mine. One of her books is called The Cure. So if you want a really good example of Parker's writing, that was a contemporary romance. She also wrote House of Hathaway, and that's a real good example of her sci-fi. She's like me. She gets ideas from all kinds of sources and therefore writes in all kinds of genres. We don't limit ourselves to a genre, and she's the same way. We also have a guy named M.B. Mooney, and he wrote The Living Stone, if you want to look that up.
Yeah, I'm reading that one right now.
Yeah, good
His real name is Britt Mooney. He's not anonymous.
Are we supposed to tell that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's not.
Pen name.
Britt and I have met several times at the Realm Makers Writing Conference all over the country. He's a great author, and interesting because it's kind of a crossover. In fact, the series itself, Beyond the Veil, is a mash of 3 different genres.
Correct.
It's sci-fi, fantasy, and the main thing is romance, actually. So it's kind of a different twist on things.
I need to say one more thing. We have one more author.
Yeah.
You skipped over him. His name's Travis Perry. He writes a lot of anthologies. Now, has he written books that are standalone, just him, or mainly
I don't
anthologies?
know. We'll have to ask him.
We will ask him.
His anthologies, though, are pretty fascinating. He brings in a lot. He does this sort of thing with multiple authors by bringing in a lot of fantasy writers, mostly.
And the difference is he does an anthology, which is a collection of stories all in one book, whereas what we're doing is a collection of authors writing separate books, but under the same idea. The overarching plot is the same.
Yeah, and so how that works. As far as a writing tip, we wanted to reach out. A lot of times, well, always, writing is an individual effort. You're sitting there alone at your computer or a notepad or however you feel like you need to write, and it's a solo endeavor. But when you write a multiple author series or an anthology like Travis Perry does, you have to coordinate with the other authors. And has that presented some interesting challenges?
Yeah, it's a practice in patience, and it is a character building activity.
Right. That means there's a lot of pain involved. And lately, and I have been whining a little bit because I get the same comments. So
sorry.
Now you don't need to be sorry. You just need to be continued to point out these points in my writing that may need a little tweaking.
What he's talking about is when I critique his work.
Right. So since we're coordinating, we submit to each other different pieces of this overarching book, and then we critique them. So they have to all fit together. The plots need to fit together. The characters, we own certain characters. Like in my book, I own Holly and Axel, and then there's a fantasy creature that comes through this veil. I guess I better backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
We need to talk about the concept of veils so that you can understand how you work things together. And we have 5 minutes here, so we'll do that.
Yeah.
So Beyond the Veil it's a sci-fi fantasy where a bunch of scientists have gathered under a corporation in the mountains of Colorado, and these scientists are working on quantum entanglement. Well, the experiment goes, there's a couple of accidents that happen at the same time, and it entangles our universe with an adjacent universe where the mythical fantasy creatures have always lived. And now these fantasy creatures are breaching this veil and coming into our world. Well, the concept as far as romance is these fantasy creatures, each episode is a complete story in itself, where a romance happens, and that one of the fantasy creatures or more interferes with or enhances the romance or meddles with the romance. So it gets pretty messy sometimes. And these, Lynn, what is the fantasy creature in your stories?
Mine are fairies, and it's actually a group of them. There's a little more than a dozen fairies.
Yeah,
and
so
they
are mischievous little creatures.
Yes, and my characters are a geologist and a chemical physicist.
And I also have a chemical physicist.
Yes.
That's Holly. She's the brainchild. And then Axel is a technician.
Right.
And my fantasy creature is a shade. So he's not even corporeal. So he projects emotion very strongly, and so he can scare the out of you. And
You said shade?
A shade. Yeah.
Okay.
So like a wraith or a spirit, a phantasm of some sort. And he projects emotions on them, but in the world that they come from, love has been subdued. They're the queen of that land has got has had some bad love experiences, and we're saying that lightly, but she purposely suppresses love.
So when they come to our world, they're fascinated by it.
Yeah.
So
and intrigued, and they're not sure whether to endorse it or squash it.
Yeah.
So
but and back to the overarching plot, a real good example, we were talking about his character as a chemical physicist and mine as a chemical physicist. They work together. So his characters will show up in my story, and my character will show up in his story. So he has to be very careful not to write my characters incorrectly, and same for me. And so that's where the authors work together and talk about
give each other backstory and things like that.
Yeah,
right.
And you always have to give the other author a snippet of your scene so that you get their approval for how you've written their character.
Right. The person who owns the character. So back to the bigger concept of why we're talking about this is writing is a solo event. You have to sit down there, and Lynn always calls it, you got to have butt and seat to get the writing done.
Butt and chair.
Butt and chair, that's it. Yep. But we found that this is even though it is challenging to work with other writers, it's very rewarding, and now you have I wouldn't say a social aspect, but it is this coordination that really enhances it and makes your writing better.
Right, and you get feedback right away instead of, after a year of writing and then showing it to one person
and they hate it.
That's pretty scary. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's not working well.
Yeah, it is. It's good. And we get together for conference calls where we do video conferences and share ideas.
Yeah. In fact, we have one tomorrow.
When we have a kind of a block and I'm not real sure where this should go, then we get together with the authors involved in the whole series and we discuss it. And between the 5 of us, we come up with amazing ideas. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yes.
Good exercise in collaboration and cooperation.
Yes, although it is really challenging. The challenging part with, and don't be shy out there, you writers in the closet, to open yourself up to critique. I'm going to be transparent, a little vulnerable here. The comments that Lynn and the other person in my writing group, Rob, that they are constantly telling me is that I'm telling. You always want to show, not tell, as a writer. And so Lynn is always, and I have to take that and decide, well, is this part of my style, or do I really need to revamp this and make this more visceral, make it more, so that the reader can feel what's going on here. The other one is...
Cinematic is the word.
Cinematic, right.
Yes.
And Lynn, you were talking about, before the show, real quick, why we write more cinematically now.
Well, everybody's used to videos now. Back when Charles Dickens wrote, everybody talked on books or read books, and now we see movies, so we need to write like a movie. That's why we do it that way.
So people can picture things.
Exactly.
All right, so we need to wrap up, but writemeradio@gmail.com, WRITE, writemeradio@gmail.com. You closet writers, contact us now, okay?
We want to hear from you.
Happy writing, everyone.
Happy writing, everyone. Be blessed.
All right, thanks for listening to Right Time Radio on 1400 KRLN. Delicious, delectable, delightful, beyond madness catering for all your special occasions. Call 276-3088. 1400 AM, KRLN, Canyon City, Pueblo West.